You with Kung Fu Eddie. He will fight you to the death.
What's up, everybody? This is Kung Fu Eddie, baby, and I'm here at the Tech League studio once again. And I'm here. I already said it. I already made her laugh. She's a legend in my eyes because she's representing the blue and white. She is a proud Salvadorian, and she has been recognized for her accolades, especially from, I believe, Nassau, New York, as a citation of regularization. You see, that's how nervous I am. I'm very nervous. But she was recognized as a proud Salvadorian for her pro wrestling in sports. She is a current Trap Queen Texas Cartel champion, and she is the only Salvadorian woman, probably not the last, but she always be the first, to wrestle at AEW, Ring of Honor, MLW, and CMML. We have Alejandra Quintanilla, La Leona, baby!
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, what an intro. Thank you so much.
You can say I messed it up.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I appreciate it. I love it.
But again, the reason why I'm like so nervous because one of the topics that I really want to talk to you about is representation. And like obviously in pro wrestling we had Mexicans. Right now, Puerto Ricans are taking over because of music and Bad Bunny. But when it comes to like specific Latino geographical areas, we're lacking Salvadorians. But here you are representing the 503, representing the blue and white, la gente salvadoreña. So I got to ask you formally, ¿qué onda vos?
Oh, chica.
Aquí no más.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, you said it. You mentioned it. In pro wrestling, there's always been, cultural representation for Salvadorian has been very small. There's not a lot of us. There's not many of us. And right now, I'm currently the only one, like the only female here in the United States that's, in this sport. You said it. Mexicans have always, that's where lucha libre comes from. And now, like you said, Puerto Ricans, but here I am, just being wild, living the dream, representing El Salvador, and I've had an amazing career so far.
No, and it is amazing. And I try to tell everybody, especially examples like Gino Medina, Sammy Guevara, I try to tell everybody, I remember when I saw you in this moment. But for me, I apologize. I don't remember when I first saw you. I feel like I've seen you everywhere in Texas, probably in Dallas more specifically. But when did you first start it? When did you get bit by the wrestling bug? When did this all start?
Very similar to a lot of us. Always a fan. Always a fan of pro wrestling. Always, 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 always. Since I was a little kid in El Salvador, always. O sea, siempre, 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 siempre. Always. But, El Salvador, unfortunately, is not a lot of resources for the sport. Mm-hmm. And when you grew up in El Salvador, at least in the neighborhood that I grew up in, you quickly realize that you may never do it. You lived in El Salvador, you see these people, and you see them in different parts of the world, not just in the United States, but we're talking about like Japan and stuff like that, these amazing wrestlers. So I was in El Salvador, I was like, as a kid, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to do that, just based on my circumstances at the time. But, I've been very fortunate and blessed that I've moved to America. And I was doing journalism in college, and then I can't remember, but someone was like, "You like wrestling, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I love wrestling. I watch it still to this day." And then they were like, "Hey, we need somebody to go over to the American Airlines Center because there's going to be Monday Night Raw, and we need someone to go and do like an interview because that's when the first time WrestleMania came to Dallas."
Oh, 32.
Yes. So they sent me to be part of this media press. And I was like, this is amazing. I want to, that's where it really, really set in, where I was like, I think I can do this. Then I went to WrestleMania, and that was like, a dream come true. And I was like, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. I think I can do it. And it just became like that. Luckily, I had some friends that also like wrestling. And, through a friend of a friend, they were like, hey, I trained here. I was like, where? There was like DFW All Pro in
Okay.
Haltom City. And I messaged the page and I was like, hey, I want to do this. I want to try it out. I got in the ring and instantly fell in love, and it just has been history ever since.
Awesome. So, okay, so now that you told me that timeline, because the first time no, wait, this was the second time I went to WrestleMania. The first time was in New Orleans. Second time when I had big boy money, I went all out in Dallas. So, okay, so that was around, I want to say 2017,
Yeah.
if I'm not
So
mistaken.
that was 2016, but
16, okay.
I didn't start really, really training until 2017.
Okay. So with all that training, again, just having the world on your back in your head, because I feel like you have to represent, because I've seen all your videos on your Instagram of like how much pride you have for your country, for our country. I say your country because like I have more identity of being an American than a Salvadorian, even though I've been there 3 times, when I was 2, when I was 10, when I was 14, but I haven't been there, and I rarely connect to that culture. Because my grandma, you know how abuelitas are, hey, no te vas de pases de allí, de esa calle, juega fútbol allí y después regresa a la calle. Because, we had a problem with MS-13s, with the gangs and all that stuff. So I've never truly say I tapped into the culture. And that's why, like, I really enjoy your work, because you tap into that culture. And like I told you, like, I'm very nervous because I don't know what to ask when it comes to, like, the Salvadoran culture. But like you said it, we barely get it. So what was your ultimate like inspiration? Because for me, when I was a kid, Eddie Guerrero was like my hero. Again, like
Same. Eddie Guerrero, Eddie, the Rey Mysterios. Yeah.
yeah. So with them, like they inspired me to just be a fan, but I never got to the point of getting to the ring. Like for you, you made that ultimate choice. But what kept you going, especially with your heritage, your representation, and you're driven? Because again, your nickname is La Leona. You have that lion pride. So you have that strong pride. So what kept you going, and keeping up with this sport?
Um, so when I started training, I feel like I've always kept my mentality. I felt like even though I lived in America for so long now, I always have the Salvadorian mentality. Um, where I think what kept me going is I was never aware of what I could achieve or what I've done. So when I started taking it almost like day by day, week by week, month by month, match by match, and then now it got to a point where where I grew in popularity as a name and stuff like that, where people were like, you're something special, right? And I was like, am I? They're like, yeah. And then, because I always talked about El Salvador, but unfortunately, there was a time where El Salvador was just not good.
Yeah.
The reasons why I live in America now, right?
Yeah.
It's because my neighborhood was overfilled with gangs. It was really, really bad. And there was a point that I couldn't go back.
Yeah.
Now, the country's doing amazing and people are talking about it. And I always said, well, I always, even though I lived here and I've been accepted in the American community, I always felt like I'm not from here.
Yeah.
Like my home is, if you ask me where home is,
Yeah,
home
exactly.
is miles away.
That's why when you said like my country, my this and that, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, so you were born in the motherland.
Yeah, I was born in El Salvador.
Okay. ¿De qué parte?
San Salvador.
Oh, la mera capital.
De la capital.
Yeah, my family's from San Miguel. So again, like even that's how far I go.
Yeah.
Like I don't know the other. I know San Salvador because of the airport, and then San Miguel straight to the house. That's all I know. So with all your training and your gaining of knowledge of pro wrestling, when you stepped into the ring for the first time and actually perform, how was that? How was that moment of like, hey, the hard part is happening. I'm in the ring. I'm doing my first match. How was that feeling?
Oh my goodness. I think I was nervous for weeks because I wasn't expecting it. It came out of the blue where my coach was like, hey, I need you to get gear quick. You're going to have a match. And it's happening. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, it just felt really, really fast. And I remember, a lot of us in the indie circuit, um, a lot of promotions are big, a lot of promotions are small. And when I started the promotion, DFWO Pro was very, very small.
Okay.
And luckily, like, my family was there. It was about 40 people in the crowd. And I was just nervous as I could be. I was just like freaking out. I was like, I made my entrance, but I was like, what am I doing here? I remember standing in the ring and just getting dizzy for a moment.
That's
I was
how
like,
that's how I feel right now, ladies and gentlemen. Just to let you know that right now.
I was like so nervous. I was like, what am I going like what am I doing? Oh my God, there's only like 40 people in the crowd. What is my family gonna think? And stuff like that. But I got through the match. It went well. My family was really happy and proud. And
That's awesome.
after, that one, just like I said, it's like I stepped into the ring, fell in love, had that match, fell in love, and I like loved it being there. So that's kind of one of those things that always kept me going, is just how much I love and how much passion I have for pro wrestling and being in the ring and connecting with the crowd and creating not just history but like memories for myself.
Yeah.
Because I always say things. I don't know how people see me. I know how I see them.
Yeah.
So then I know what I was feeling and what I was looking at. I was like, that's what I fell in love with, and that's kind of the things that kind of keep me going. And then now, realizing, the responsibility that I have on my shoulders as a Salvadorian person and what I've achieved, in the sport, I got to keep going.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to be able to move to America. Unlike some of my other friends or my family members who haven't been able to get out or couldn't get out. And I feel like I always say this, like, this dream, my career is bigger than myself. I'm doing it just not for myself, but mainly for my friends that weren't able to get out of the neighborhood. Because I remember we all used to watch. We used to go back to school the next day. We used to play. We wanted it, right? As a kid, it was like, I want to be a wrestler too. And the fact that I was very blessed and fortunate to be able to get out to do this. I'm doing it for them, for those little kids who wanted to dream but couldn't do it.
Yeah, and we're getting to the point that I feel like in pro wrestling, everything's getting represented. You get representation from the LGBTQ, you get representation from the African Americans, you get represented from all types of people in the whole world. And it just feels so special to be the first. But how nervous is it to be the first Salvadorian to just do anything? Because again, like, if I do my Google searches of Salvadorian people, the only person I could think of is Lizette Chavez from The Rookie. And she's an actress from El Salvador. And that's the only thing I know from El Salvador. Like, if you quiz me right now, like any pop culture of Salvador, I have no idea. But you're the first person I think of now, especially when it comes to pro wrestling. So how does that feel, having that pressure of like, hey, I'm the first, and sometimes the first is either good or bad because you are setting the example.
Yes. Like I was saying, it's a big responsibility. It really is. And something that I always say, and I firmly believe, I didn't take on this responsibility. I believe that this was written for me.
I like that.
I'm very, I believe in God. I'm very connected to God and
That's
stuff
awesome.
like that. And I've always said that, where I didn't choose this. I believe it was written for me. And I have to do right, not just by God, but by the people that are also believing in me. So, like, because at first I didn't knew much about it. Like you said, there's not a lot of Salvadorians out there. So it wasn't until almost somebody brought it up that was like, hey, do you know that you're doing this, right? And I was like, what? It's like, yeah, I don't think there's ever been another Salvadorian. And then I got in contact with the promotions in El Salvador that they knew more about the history and
word?
or pro wrestling in El Salvador. And then they're like, yeah, no one's doing what you're doing. No one's gotten as far as you've gone.
There's actual like documentation that's like, hey man, okay, who's the first chef?
Yeah, so
that's Don Miguel from California. So they actually have records of that?
Yeah, so like I said, it was like there is wrestling in Salvador. It's not like I'm the only one.
Okay.
There is, but like I said, I'm very fortunate that I've been the only one who's gotten as far as I've gotten, or step into the arenas that I stepped into, work for the companies that I work for. One of the ones, in my opinion, one of the biggest accomplishment was my debut just last year in CMLL, El Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre.
Sí.
The capital of Lucha Libre is Mexico City. CMLL is the oldest pro wrestling company in the world. It's 92 years. And Arena Mexico has been there since the 50s.
Yeah.
And I was the first Salvadorian.
Well, almost like 30s. Yeah, if I do my math correctly.
The company itself is longer. The arena, the
arena.
Historic Arena Mexico.
Yeah, okay.
That's been, I believe it's since the 50s.
Okay.
And, just last year, the Salvadorian flag was being waved, and that
In
was
Mexico.
the first time in Mexico
Without being discriminated too, because we know the beef. Mexican Salvadorian, we know the beef.
But, and there's always been beef between us, but surprisingly, I was a little shocked, but I was very welcomed in Mexico City. I was nervous,
Yeah.
but the people were very nice, very kind. They took me in, and I got to give credit where credit is due. It's because El Salvador is doing so well as a country, and we have an amazing president right now who's doing insane things for the country. And it has completely changed it. So that's why I believe part of my success also comes from is the fact that El Salvador is doing well as a nation.
I tell people all the time, when white people start complimenting something, that's what it's
you know,
officially good.
we're doing something. Because I just did another interview for another podcast in El Salvador just recently, and I talked about that. At one point, it was a little, how do I say it? It was a little tough to represent El Salvador, because as soon as I would say I'm Salvadorian, then it was like, oh,
yeah,
associated with gangs. It was something just negative and wrong, because that's what was being presented in the news. Was everything was bad. It was the murder capital of the world. It was one of the most dangerous places. They will, churches will even tell people don't go to El Salvador to do mission work, because it's just that bad and dangerous.
Yeah, I remember that, because the church that I used to go with my mom, like, it was all like heavy Salvadorian community, and even then, like, people didn't want to go back to their own country. And I guess that's why I have that missing identity, is because of the gang. Because again, my mom, she was not ashamed of saying like, hey, we're Salvadorians, but she got to the point that like, no, you're an American, like you're American, you just speak Spanish. And then it got to the point that my Spanish sounded more Mexican than Salvadorian, because we have that little te casas la no joda boque. We have that, but I never got to the point to like finding out my identity until I actually went when I was 10 years old, and I saw like the mountains, the volcano, and I saw people walking in the streets. Like my grandma, she thinks the ultimate, like, how do you say, like a tourist area was the Metro Centro. Like she was like, hey, this is the best you got. Now I'm over here seeing TikTok white people doing the rainbow slide, and I'm like, where was that when I was 10?
There, but Metro Centro. I grew up on Metro Centro. That's where they
Ladies,
will take
if you
me.
know,
You know what I'm talking about. Metro Centro, La Plaza Merlio. Yeah, that's what he is.
Trust me, I know something. I've tasted real pollo capero.
Pizza Hut too.
Oh my! Why do we love Pizza Hut so much?
It was the best. It was because Pizza Hut in El Salvador it's fine dining. A lot of people don't know that. It is fine
it is
dining.
legit like a 5-star restaurant. Let's keep it 100.
Pizza Hut in El Salvador is fine dining. Yes.
No, but since you already mentioned that you went to CMML, and again, that was part of my research, but the one memory I could safely say that I remember is your debut in AEW. Almost, I think it was like in AEW Dark, I believe.
Yes.
And how was that moment? Because again, you still represented that flag. You represented your lion fur. You were badass, man. How was that moment of knowing that you went to national television now?
That was, like I said, I think it's crazy because I don't, maybe because like I said, I feel like I still have like that poor little girl mentality from El Salvador that sometimes I just don't realize where I'm at and what I'm doing. Um, but like if you see on my debut match on AEW, when I take my fur off, on my fur it was my flag. And like at that, like I remember feeling I was excited, I was ready to go. I don't want to say I don't get nervous, but my nervous is more
Yeah.
like I'm so anxious, I'm ready to go. Because we were first match, me and Red Velvet open up the
Yes,
show.
it was Red Velvet. Another person that I had to Google, and I was like, oh, she's one of us. Like, okay.
Yes, which I just saw her last weekend actually. But you know, it's almost because everything I feel like it happens too quickly, or at least in my mind, it feels quick. So it's like, hey, you know, can you come to? I believe it was in Garland at the Curtis.
Yeah, the
Cultural
Curtis Center. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. So I show up, and I was like, okay, you know, you're kind of there, and then next you know, like they're like, hey, you're having a match versus Red Velvet. I was like, cool. For your first match, I was like, great. I was like, go get changed and go meet with your coaches. And my coach for my match was Cody Rhodes.
That's awesome.
And he was amazing. I love Red Velvet. She's an amazing athlete. And they allowed me to carry like my fur, my flag. Cody was really cool, really helpful, really sweet, really kind. When I see him, like we still kind of talk for
That's
for little
awesome.
moments, stuff like that. But it was, like I said, it wasn't until you know later I can remember when it was like, hey, I think I was the first, and then they're like, yep, you were the first.
Check.
I'm like, oh, okay, like, because my experiences in the ring are different, now I'm like, oh, okay, now that I know more. And even when I went to Mexico City, I was like, I think I'm about to be the first one.
Yeah.
And I talked to the promoter in El Salvador, and he was like, yeah, I don't think there's been another Salvadorian. So I was like, okay. And then when I was announced that I was going to Mexico City, the fans started talking about it.
Wow.
Whenever I got to Arena Mexico and I went into the office, I asked, I was like, hey, has there been another Salvadorian? And they were like, no, there hasn't. Because that was the confirmation that I needed, because, I can think that, right? But once now I'm talking to,
But not only talking, but like it's part of the history books.
Yes, and then I remember, so I went into the office at Arena Mexico. They confirmed that. It was like, yeah, you're about to be the first Salvadorian.
Dude, that's awesome.
And I was like, okay, I was like, okay, I took it in. I was breathing, and then the next day I did the interview in Arena Mexico, and the fans kept bringing it up. So then it became huge, even for CMLL. And even though I was going representing MLW, I was team Major League Wrestling versus Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre. A lot of that focus became on the fact that I was the first Salvadorian to step in Arena Mexico.
Which is, again, it's honor in itself. Like, no, like, yeah, we got this current beef right now, but no, this is special for me.
Yeah, and like I said, and I don't want to say the beef between Mexico and El Salvador has died down.
Oh, no, I meant like CMML and MLW, because I think that was like a versus, right?
Yeah, it was a versus.
Yeah. That's what I was mentioning.
And it became like almost like, yeah, you're here representing MLW, but wait.
No, you're
there's something. They were like, wait, there's something else
bigger,
that's big.
yeah.
And it was amazing. I remember being so nervous, and you can't tell in the video, but if you go back and watch when I make that entrance, we were going down the stairs, and I remember, because we practice all of that. We go through the cues, the
Oh, that's
cameras, and
awesome.
stuff like that. So we do walkthroughs. But in the moment, I'm like, I can't remember. I feel like I went blank for a moment, and I'm going down the stairs, and I'm like, I'm going really fast. I need to slow down.
You need
So
to
I like, so
savor that moment.
you see me take like a bunch of like steps, really fast, and then I stopped. And I was like, I got to stop. And then I'm like, okay, I'm glad I did because it allowed me to actually look at the whole arena. There
crowd,
was,
yeah.
I believe that night, there was about 16,000 people,
That's awesome.
if not almost close to sold out, but about 16,000 people. And I'm like, oh my goodness, and I'm here. And then you just see me kind of wave my flag.
I know that was so. That was so badass. I was like, I was doing the rock. I was like goosebumps.
Yes. And then when I was done with the match, it was just almost like I'm in the locker room and I'm like, I just did that. That just happened. I was like,
You can take that final breath of
Yeah.
like, oh, it's over.
that's
it's
how I
awesome.
always take it in. Because like as wrestlers, we know how we get in the ring, but we don't know how we're going to step out.
Yeah.
So for me, when everything is said and done, is when I'm in the locker room now. Once the match and everything is over, because you never know, things can happen in the world wrestling. Things change constantly. So, so I was just like, okay, it's not gonna be real until I'm back in the locker room.
Exactly.
So once I was back in the locker room, I'm like, I did it. I'm like, did
Oh
I
my
just
God.
do that? Like, it's very humbling too.
Yeah.
So, but it was amazing. And then I was fortunate enough to have 5 matches total in CMLL.
Oh, nice.
I also wrestle in Arena Coliseo, which is the other arena they have, and
Okay.
Arena Puebla.
Okay. So for me, I only know like Arena Mexico. That's all I know. But continuing about representation again, like ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell, like we're very prideful when it comes to our culture.
Very
But one thing about the positives is always the negatives. So with me, like I tell everybody, like when I started identifying as a Salvadorian, as like a true Salvadorian, was in high school. And I tell everybody when I first put on conditioner and gel and I saw my little chinos, I was like, oh, wait, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this? Yo, is this me? Like, and then that's when like my mom was just like, yeah, you got pelo chino. And then she did her hair. And I was like, okay, where was this? So with you, is there any other point that you got ashamed of being like, chino, like pelo largo chino, wild and all that stuff? Because again, my grandma said, ay, necesitas cortarte ese pelo, cortarte esa barba. Is there any point that you felt like, okay, like I love these positivities, but like I still have people like being negative because of my features or something that I'm doing too much, Is
Yeah.
there everything ever got to that point for you?
Honestly, I mean, how do I say it? I've always loved my hair. I love the way that I looked. I loved where I come from, and I always been a wild kid. I always say that I grew up in El Salvador. If you know, you know. But like I grew up very wild.
Yeah.
And the reason why I love my hair is because I quickly identified as a lion really early on.
Yeah.
Because of, in a lot of ways, because of my hair, but not just because of my hair, but it was because everything, how the neighborhood was. Like I always said, you have to fight in school because of bullying, or you have to go outside and you just never knew what could happen to you. So you always have to be in a, fight mode at all times. Growing up in El Salvador, I tell that to people. It's like it's a lot of people always have to be on fight mode, and sometimes like that's not the most positive light.
Yeah.
Do you know that's not the most positive thing, especially when I talk about my upbringing in El Salvador. It's our people carry a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. We've gone through a lot. We've survived a lot too. And sometimes we want to change things because we just don't want to be reminded of those things.
Yeah.
So I remember I had really short hair, and I was always been very like tomboyish. It's not surprise I'm a wrestler. Like it's I've always been like that. But I remember when I was in school, this girl said to me, "You're like, oh, you're like a cute little lion."
That's adorable.
And then I don't know why, it's still to this day, like it resonated with me, like all throughout, you know, my stuff. And then people be like, "Oh my God, look at your hair! It's like
Yeah.
wild. It's here, it's there." And I'm like, I'm
I
La Leona. I'm the lion.
I
This
get
is
that all the
yeah.
time with my hair because, like, yeah, my grandma, she likes the clean cut. She wants me to have
Oh, we
shave
have to be.
everything.
We have that's
Again, I'm sorry, abuela. You know, I gotta represent. You know, so that's an awesome story because I was gonna ask you where did the Leona come from, and you told us, and that's awesome because again, for me, like I love pandas mainly because of my dad being an asshole. Because you know how Salvadorians
yeah.
dads are. Because I was training martial arts and a certain movie came out
I
during
love that
that
movie.
during that time. So yeah, every single time I come in with a first place trophy or a belt or a medal, he's like, "Oh, mira Kung Fu Panda,
yeah.
bien chingón el cabrón." I'm like, okay, whatever. So then it got to the point that I love pandas because I'm like, man, they're lazy, but hey, if we saw the movie,
They're a bear. They're still a bear.
they're still a bear. They got claws, they got teeth.
They're
So
still
we
a
could be
bear.
cute and adorable, but we can still be violent.
Yeah.
So with you, you embraced like your features and everybody giving you compliments of being La Leona, and you turn that to your own like persona in the ring. Did it ever got to the point that like, oh, you need to change this, change that in the wrestling? Like, we already got a line somewhere else. We need something better from you.
Um, believe it or not, like, cause I feel like lion. A lot of people represent. A lot of people identify with lions, and um, so. But for me, uh, every time I said, "Oh no, just I'm a lion," and people be like, "Oh, we see that, we get it." So even before I was a pro wrestler, people I was already calling myself a lion. I'm like La Leona, and then I'll notice that my friends, instead of calling me Alejandra, they would be like, "Oh, lion, La Leona, ya llegó La Leona está aquí, the lion is here." It was always like that before pro wrestling. So when I started training, I talked to my coach about my name, and I was like, "Hey, people, this is kind of my nickname. People call me the lion," and he was like, "Oh, we don't know if that's gonna work or not." But then in training, instead of calling me Alejandra, he just started calling me Lion. A lot of people see that in me, so no one has ever really told me to like change it up because they see it, they believe it. I was like, okay, yeah, you're a little firecracker, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
So that's why it. I've been fortunate enough that the Lion has because it's so close to me that no one has ever really tried to change it.
That's awesome because again, like I mentioned before, everybody wants to change your hair. Like, oh man, that is muy negrita, you're morena, do this and that. But I'm glad that none of that features changed. But we're going at a tail end of our conversation, which I truly appreciate. Like this lady, she's so professional. She kept on asking me like, "Hey, what time do I need to be there?" "Oh, I'm running late. I'm so sorry." And I truly appreciate your professionalism. But I kind of botched the beginning of the intro because we gotta really talk about your citation of representation that you got in Nassau, New York, as being the proud Salvadorian. What did that award mean to you? Hopefully, I said it correctly. I believe
Yeah, it's
the Hispanic Affairs, like they honored you as a citation of
recognition. Yeah,
recognitions for pro wrestling achievements as a Salvadoran woman in sports. Like, how was that for you?
that was another unexpected moment in my career. I was working with a person from El Salvador who does charity work. So he does a lot of little charity work to help, you know, buy like medical equipment and stuff like that and takes it back to El Salvador. So he asked me to be part of the fundraiser that he was doing. So I went, I can't remember what it was, but I went to New York. We were doing charity work, and the last day that I was in New York, he was like, "Hey, we are going." Can't remember the name. One of the executive buildings. We're talking about
Yeah,
politics and politicians.
yeah, basically
and
like
the
City Hall,
building,
right?
city halls, like things like that. He was like, "Oh, we're gonna meet with." Somebody wants to meet you. And I was like, okay, all right, yeah. He was like, yeah, they want to give you something. And I was like, what? Like, I feel like I was just not getting into. We pull up to the building, and I'm like, oh, this is this is legit. And then I can't remember his name, but the executive of the Hispanic Affairs
Yeah.
in Nassau, New York. He was like, "Oh, we got something for you," and we're like, and I'm sitting in this building with all the it was just
Yeah.
and pretty like I said, it was this recognition for my work in pro wrestling as not just a Salvadorian, but a Hispanic in America achieving and doing what
Because
I've
it was
done.
during Hispanic Heritage Month, right?
It was. Oh
That's
yes,
awesome.
that is it. Yeah, I missed that detail. Yeah, that was crazy. During Hispanic Heritage Month, I got the citation of recognition.
That's
New
awesome.
York.
I like seeing you with that certificate. It looked badass.
It was like I said. I was like I don't because I'm there. Like I wish I could see. I would say this to people. I wish I could see myself through other people's eyes because I know what I see,
Yeah.
but I don't know how people see me.
Well, I'll make sure to pop out my eyeballs. But again, I truly appreciate you being here. But we can't talk about why you're here in Houston because you're going to be at Reality of Wrestling
Yes.
Battle to the Bell in a ladder match against five other women: Holly J, Maya Friday, La Carisma, Misty Marks, and Jada Stone. And you guys are competing for number one contendership for the championship, correct?
Yes.
So, have you ever been to the ladder match? And if not, how do you feel about it?
I'm excited. I'm really really excited. I love stipulation matches. If the people who know me, like I said, wild by choice, because I love a lot of stipulation matches, and so a ladders match to me, I'm ready to jump off, or someone's jumping off, someone's falling off of it. One thing for sure is I'm ready to climb that ladder.
Well, hopefully by the time this is aired, she's already the number one contender for the Diamonds Women's Champion. Again, thank you so much for being here, for always representing our culture, always representing Hispanics, always representing the blue and white. But most important question, like I try to do some fun questions, but I want the ultimate question.
Oh, okay.
What is worse, eating a pupusa with a knife and fork or dating a Mexican?
Oh, God.
If you know, you know.
I gotta say this. I don't even think I ever eaten a pupusa with a fork. Like that's not a thing. And so to me, that's the worst. That is. I don't even know how. Like how do you do that? I don't.
It's like Ricky Bobby's like, what I do with my hands?
What do I do with my? And yeah, like I don't think I ever have. I don't think I ever will. Yeah, like it's like cause sometimes you go in, they put the fork, and you're
Yeah,
like, oh yeah,
I
you
was
just
like-
kind of,
I was
and
like-
you set it aside. Like,
I was like, why are you giving me this?
yeah, to me that's the worst. Like to me that's not a thing.
That's why I was like, what's some fun questions I could ask?
Yeah, no.
Because I was gonna
could
do
be
like
burning my fingers. Salvadorians know you are burning your fingers trying
Right.
to open it, put your curtido and salsa.
and
but
the worst part is that they give you the thinnest napkins. So you're
yeah,
over here
the
like,
thinnest, and they be hot too.
Yeah.
Like our Salvadoran people know, like we are burning our fingers, but we're opening it up, or like
you see the steam coming out and la revuelta. Ay.
yeah.
That's awesome. Again, thank you so much for being here. And thank you guys for tuning in. I forgot to do my cameras. Thank you guys for tuning in for Kung Fu Eddie Baby. And one last time, La Leona with my cameras. And we are officially out, y'all.